the independent party is growing the biggest.
They're gonna, yeah.
You're ready. We're going live.
Stand for pledge allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag
In the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2, public participation. Hearing none, Ashley.
Good evening, gentlemen. Although he is not with us here tonight, I, on behalf of the WPCA administration, would like to take a moment to honor and appreciate the WPCP superintendent, Mr. Ed Camboni. After loyally dedicating 50 years of his life to the city of Cheltenham, Mr. Camboni has decided to enter into a well-deserved retirement. Although his presence and his wisdom will be missed, the WPCA hope that he will continue to live a happy and fulfilling life. Should you be watching this at any point, Mr. Camboni, we thank you deeply for your service and we wish you well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ed. Item 3, approval of the meeting minutes of this, actually the special meeting dated November 22nd and January 18th.
Move to approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Don, seconded by,
Right.
well, we actually
I
can't do
second.
motion. We actually can't do motions. We don't have a
We
quorum.
don't have a quorum?
No, so
We can't
that's
vote.
all right. Don't worry about it. It's nothing in me, huh? There's nothing.
One guy's online, right?
Eugene.
Eugene and Mike is there. I thought Mike is there. Mike, are you on?
Mike is not.
That's
had a
right.
work meeting.
So we can't vote on anything, which is fine.
Okay.
Communications, CPC superintendent's report. Garrett,
Okay, the report for January 2023, our average flow was 3.1. We had a peak flow of 6 million in the rain the other day. All the numbers look pretty good. We trucked out 19 dry tons of sludge. No accidents or 48 months without an accident. Our training, we just did some winter SBR winter operations and high flow, what to do when we have high flow, different changes to make. No noise complaints, no odor complaints. For grease for January, was upper root 8 was 90, lower root 8 was 130, River Road was 100, Lattice Place was 90, Middle Arc was 90. Corrective maintenance, we had orders for new VFD drives for the sump pump in the sludge building and the odor control unit. An exhaust fan for the sludge building basement. We got to remove the fire screen rake for cog gear replacement. Installed new VFD drivers for the rotary drum thickener. And we had to remove the pump at Baird Sawmill for rebuild. We'd be going back in maybe another week or two. All the SBRs are online. Overtime is as normal. That's it.
is it unusual for VFD drives to go down?
Sorry?
Is it unusual for VFD drives to go down?
No, I mean, they're almost 20 years old. It's a corrosive environment. The ones for the RDT, actually, when you touched them, the casing just fell apart. So, and it's, you know, that added when one thing starts breaking, they're all gonna go. So we lost 3 drives.
Are those in a blower building?
No, they're in this sludge building. It's a work building.
Any questions for Garrett?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, who's gonna be the chief operator now? Or,
Well, temporarily, we have a grade 3 on site that will be filling in. We've already advertised for the position. It's closing next Friday, and then hopefully by beginning of March.
It won't be one of the employees that are there now.
No, nobody else has a great forward to take it. So it'll be somebody from the outside.
Budget worksheet. We need to start setting up a meeting. March, April, May, let's see, March, next month, I guess we should set up something in March. It takes us usually a month, a couple of months to, did you guys starting it yet?
Well, we started working on it a little bit, but I was kind of, now that Ed's retiring and somebody new coming in, I wanted to just try to drag my feet a little bit on my end. Which I'm not gonna drag too much, but
So if we have one in April,
yeah,
we
probably.
want to have our first one in April. So maybe at March's meeting, we'll announce a date in April.
Okay.
Any questions of the budget? It's the 23-24 is when we're gonna start the first budget meeting. Anybody have a problem with April? We'll find out in March.
On a special meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Special meetings.
Yeah,
It could be 4:30 or, you know,
we can do it for 4:30, yeah. You want to be here? Sure.
4 o'clock. You know, upward, you know.
Yeah, we'll do, no.
Last one was 4 o'clock. But it's 4:30
That's okay.
better. Good night.
I don't, unless anybody else has a problem. 5A, infrastructure planning. So Matt, let's talk about your chart here.
Yeah, so what we did is we updated the needs matrix. And we organized it based on really wastewater facilities planning on side with the green header. Can you hear me or not?
I can't hear you.
No, it's
I
hard.
can hear you, but I can't understand you.
How's this? Is this a little better?
Good.
Yeah.
There, I've just put the microphone in front of me. So what we did is on the green side, we have the wastewater facilities planning related items broken out into several categories. This is all updated from the needs matrix. And then the other side is the kind of the needs at the treatment plant, which you know, talking about this earlier, it seems like it's a good idea to just hold off until we have a new superintendent on board so they can kind of take ownership of some of those. But for the wastewater facilities planning, what we try to do is, based on the feedback from the special meeting, is to kind of break down what I think you're looking for and try to prioritize what you're looking for and you know, kind of open it up for discussion. I can read these in detail, but I was hoping more to just hear what your thoughts are for the most important one seems to be modifying that sewer shed flow allocation system.
Yeah,
So-
definitely.
Yeah, and that's really based on trying to kind of tie it down to any kind of bottlenecks in your pump stations or your pipe network. And then that it's a very defensible method when you go to the court, when you're challenged on it someday. Then we'll also like kind of go into the future flows in some of the neighborhoods. We'll try to break that down in a little more detail instead of just having a bucket of flow for the entire city. And then that kind of gets into specifically sewer shed 6 and 9, but there's also some other areas where, you know, someday you might want to explain. You might want to expand further. This next item we added on here, right now there seems to be, this is probably up Ashley's in her interest, which is there is 100% grant available right now to go and do some infrastructure storm hardening. to basically go through identifying and planning for how you would protect your infrastructure. And the DEP is funding this with the idea that you use their money to find a need and then also identify federal funding sources, especially through FEMA. And I think a really good use of this would be the seawall along the edge of the wastewater treatment plant, which if you were to go back there, you'll see all sorts of like sinkholes, and the wall is kind of pretty degraded. And there's always that concern that someday that unexpected storm might really kind of eat away at that earth embankment. So this would be a good opportunity to look at that. And then also, if you have some low-lying pump stations or manholes, I think you'd be able to use this grant to look at kind of identify them and then come up with a plan to raise them or fix them from letting flood water in. And then maybe even get FEMA to pay for that.
So are you making a priority one ranking because there's a grant available, and does the grant expire?
I don't know when the expiration of the grant is, but grants don't last forever. This is a new program DEP has. I did rank it high just because of the just the reports of what the kind of that embankment wall next to the river is for the holding back the river from the plant. And I guess I'm kind of concerned about that. So maybe not necessarily a priority one, but that I would be kind of concerned if that that embankment it is failing in some respect. We didn't even know that until able to get in there and cut back the brush to see sinkholes that are. It's just not very. It's certainly not a safe place to walk.
Are there any obvious areas of the pump stations being at risk here?
I would probably. We would look at all the pump stations. I think maybe only what is it? Was it Meadowlark? Might be the only one that's kind of in the depressed area. Maybe I'm getting my station names mixed up. And we would just want to make sure during how everything's they're updating all the 100-year flood elevation, so now they're higher. Then you're supposed to put on like another 1 foot factor safety on top of that, just to make sure like water is not going to get into your electronics, or it's not going to like basically flood out your station.
Well, we did when we did with McGuire when we did the plant 12 or 13 years ago, whatever it is, and we had it in their what they came back was a 500-year flood wouldn't be affected anymore by this paper. Remember that? So it evidently was supposed to be high enough. But are you saying it sounds like you're saying maybe some of these aren't? But that was the treatment plant itself, not the pump stations.
Well, yeah, the 100-year flood elevation. You're not the Connecticut River, but the Connecticut River, the 100-year flood elevation went up a foot compared to what it was 10 years ago. So I would, without going through the analysis for your plan, I haven't looked in that in any detail, or I haven't gone through the pump stations and looked at what your how close 100-year or 500-year flood elevation is to the plants. We haven't done that, but the in the past, all you have to do is be 100-year flood elevation plus like an inch or two. But now there's a new 100-year flood elevation for a lot of areas in Connecticut, and then you have to be a foot higher than that at a minimum.
So it's changed in 10 years, I guess, huh?
They're planning ahead 50 years out is basically what they're doing. If you're along the coast, you then also have to add in another 26 inches of sea level rise. So it's it can be quite a big number. So that, at a minimum, I think it's worth seeing if we can get some money to look at the seawall and figure out how to fix it. And if we truly is 100% grant, then you may as well look at see if you have any issues with any pump stations, and say you have some manholes and kind of like a off-road easement through wetlands or something. Maybe you need to raise those manhole covers a foot. And
So I see you got an order of magnitude, 30% to 50%. That's a huge number, 30 to 50. So
Yeah.
so if it's 50%, does that mean that you had 20,000 on here and you added 50%, now you got 40,000?
No, I tried to hit the kind of the middle range of that number.
Okay. I mean, since both of these are priority number one, and they both have to do with wastewater facilities planning, maybe we should try to get both of these done at the same time. You think so?
Like the first number, the 40,000 that's a good number for the sewer shed flow allocation system. We're keeping that, we're trying to keep that task pretty focused. There were a lot of discussions about looking at a bunch of other things in your collection system. And I tried to incorporate those thoughts, but put them under separate items. But they seem to be, they're not the things that are kind of keeping Mike up at night, whereas the flow allocations and how developers are trying to, sort of take advantage of that seems to be really the highest priority for planning right now.
Sewer shed 6 and 9, is that what you're talking about? This first one?
Yeah, we mentioned them at the meeting in passing, but if there are other areas based on your old projections of where you wanted to extend sewers in the future, it could be a couple other areas other than 6 and 9, but those were the ones that where we were looking off Long Hill Avenue. There's a big spot where there was no sewers that they were thinking someday you'd want to allocate flow to those.
Okay, so what does it take to recreate what Tom and I did a while ago for sewer shed 6 and 9? And you were right, we're specifically talking about Long Hill. What does it take to start recreating what we spoke about and unfortunately never got it in paper for you guys to start doing something and helping working with us to get it done? Is that 40,000? Is that 40,000? The cost 40,000 for you guys to develop this the planning, is that the 40,000 for you guys?
Yeah.
So there's a Weston and Sampson number. It's all
Yeah.
engineering.
Yeah, it is. If it's, if you're working on this like $6,000 a month and it's going to go on for several months, then yeah, I think that's, yeah, we could, if we were to do it, I'd rather just have a separate bucket of separate budget for it instead of just trying to do it as the on-call, so we can track it better.
Fine. So, I mean, I think we had to start on the third bullet point with the potential septic failures, and then we can work our way up.
Yeah, and the easiest way for that is to get a list of your who you bill every year for sewer connections, and then we'll just connect it to the parcel map, and we'll just color it red and green. We'll see who's connected and who's not. That's one way. The other way is to take your Pete has a great database of all the pipe segments, and we could do it that way too. But
Do we have any up there, Pete?
Yeah, on Long Hill Avenue, we have some, but it's not complete, it's not 100%. We haven't TV'd like every pipe. If we TV'd it, then we have it. CCTV.
So maybe-
Long Hill Avenue, we have the whole stretch, but like some of the streets off of it, like Spoke Drive and Wagon Wheel, we don't have all of those.
So then, Matt, maybe the thing is to start with Pete and get Pete's information. And put on here, get started with the third bullet point and get information from Pete. We can start developing this third one.
yeah, if we wanted to, I guess the question I have is, I just need some clear marching orders. Should we you just want to do the third bullet, or are we going to do all three? Because then I would adjust the budget if we're just doing like the third one, or it'd be helpful to have maybe a WPCA motion just so and then I can write a task authorization off of that, so I can.
All right, so the breakdown of unassigned future flows in more detail. Future flows meaning undeveloped property?
Yes, like if you're gonna knock down an industrial facility that's been abandoned and replace it with PDD. Which again, you know, how do you figure out what they're gonna put in a PDD, but
Do you, okay, then do you see flow allocation of pump stations and pipe bottlenecks as it? I mean, to me, I would put that one on the bottom of this third, as a third bullet point and raise the first, the second and third one.
yeah, so, and ultimately what that means is we're gonna say like if everything upstream of Bridgeport Avenue pump station there, what's the total flow allocation going into that pump station? Let's make sure that pump station can handle it during a rainstorm, during a big rain event. And if it doesn't, then you say, well, we can't, you know, there's a sewer moratorium on that section until the pump station gets upgraded by a developer. That way you're not oversubscribing different parts of your system for flows that.
So how is wastewater, the facilities planning for the storm hardening? I understand that there's problems down there, but how does the second one look at facilities planning?
So waste,
I would have thought facilities planning is more of item number one, the sewer shed flow allocation areas. I would have thought that would be, and I know you have them both as a priority ranking of one. Is storm hardening considered?
so facilities planning is an umbrella term for basically looking at your infrastructure and then figuring out how you're going to use it over the next 20 years. Does any of it have to be upgraded, repaired, protected, changed? That's so facilities planning is just an umbrella term. And then if you want to change like the terminology, I suspect of, you know, the infrastructure storm hardening, we could, and change the priority, we could. But in terms of trying to like figure out like how we're going to solve this problem that could threaten the plant someday. Yeah, you're planning ahead for facilities. That's the problem I had is like you guys had a lot of things you wanted to do for planning, for infrastructure planning, and I try to break it out so we can work on little bits at a time and not try to do everything at once, which might be overwhelming, but we could. And I listed them all out, but it's quite a list.
Yeah, the administrative process streaming, I'm not saying I don't see it as a priority too, but, and you could probably answer that better than me, but I'm not sure how.
Well, we can certainly.
I'm not sure how I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just talking. I'm not telling you I'm right. I'm just saying, I read the description here and I'm thinking, how is this a priority too?
I picked two because it's not one. So if we wanted to lower that, certainly we can lower that to priority 3, but then that means that's about the same importance as say pipelining. So it's the priority ranking is a relative number to try to sort this list in some fashion.
Wouldn't
yeah, you want to move it down the list? We could. I don't.
I don't know. I'm asking the question. Is it a 2.5? I know we're splitting hairs here, but
yeah,
I would view I a little bit more important than the administrative process streamlining. I would move, me personally, I would move I up.
So then we can make administrative process streaming a priority 3.
Okay. Does everybody here agree? Don,
Well,
do you agree?
I don't agree, only because, and I don't disagree, but this is overwhelming,
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, it is.
I know that maybe Mike and Bill, Nico, or maybe Eugene or somebody, but I look at this, I'm a neophyte, I can't deal with stuff that I don't understand. And I don't know, it may not work the way I want it to work, but I'm gonna tell you about it anyway. I think that, we just take the first one, wastewater planning facilities. Have a seminar or have a sit down with you or, somebody from your office and explain to us what that is in relationship to our need. I assume that, things are going fine at the plant, and then you see that this has to be done, or that has to be done, or this is low lying. And come up and tell me, and again, I'm not, take this wrong, Matt, but, $40,000 for what? Is it, so but if you explain it to me, Don, it's this, or I come up with $3 million of expenditures here, and I haven't got a clue how to spend any of it, whatsoever. And again, it's my naivete because I'm not a sewer person and I haven't had the opportunity to work with it that I like to, but I just think that there's something missing here that I sat here for a half hour before anybody came today. And the only thing I understood at all was on the second page about the, refurbishing the locker rooms, because I was down there, okay? I understand a little bit about that more than the rest, because it's something I can see or touch or feel or smell. I can't do this with this other stuff and to just quickly say, oh yeah, let's, like you just did, you just moved it down from a 2 to a 3. I don't know what the heck. Why was it a 2? If you thought it was a 2, you didn't defend that, and as soon as Mike, the chairman, said, is it important, you agreed to move it down? Well, that's okay if you could justify it, and Mike agreed with it, but it's over, I guess I just shut up, it's overwhelming for me, and I think before I vote on anything, I wanna sit down and say, what the heck are you talking about in section 1? What are you talking about in section 2? If I don't understand it because it's too much engineering, then I'll defer it to Garrett's new boss and Mike, and Bill Miko or Eugene, somebody that knows what they're doing, say, Don, this is what it is. But I'm wasting my time sitting here listening to you because I don't know what you're talking about, and I apologize.
No, that's great, critic, and that's the reason. That's the reason I really wanted to focus on the top of the list, which was really what we took. The first item was what we talked about at the special meeting that we just had. And I try to capture that discussion and pull 3 bullet points. The other items, this list we've always kind of used where we always tend to focus on the items on the top of the list. And then everything else is kind of put on the back burner until the top most important things completed, and then we'll say, hey, let's go see what we still got to do, and then we'll do that one next.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If you take the first one, just take the number 1, relate flow allocations to pump stations and pipe bottlenecks. Give me the examples of where we need it. I mean, do we need it? How many do we need? Is it 30? Is it 5? Is it 2? Is it a half
Certainly.
mile? Is it 2.5 miles? We relate flow allocations to pump station. What does it mean? Anything to me?
Sure. You know how so you know the McGuire sewer shed that we've been using for a long time, which basically each of those different sewer sheds had a certain amount of wastewater flow that we can allow connections for. Well,
Yes, I do.
so the problem we always had with that is it's those, when you go through and use those numbers, and then say we use up all the capacity, it's very hard to defend to then say to the next person that comes in, like, you're not allowed to have any more flow coming into the area 9, which is Bridgeport Avenue, because our little chart says it's 0. And then an attorney could come and say, well, because of why? What's that number even based on? So if we can instead say, we won't allow any more connections to Bridgeport Avenue because the pump station can't handle it. Oh, okay. Well, we can't, well, we could take you to court for anything, but that's going to be a tough case to win. So that's the point of that first bullet, is to try to take that table where we track wastewater flows as people connect, and tie it into, say, like, either you have a pipe that's too small to handle it, or a pump station that's the pumps aren't big enough to keep taking more and more development.
All right, so Matt, I would take this first one here, and I would
Yep.
reorganize the 3 bullet points, because I'm not gonna tell you, I say flow allocation of pump station and pipe bottlenecks is not important, but I would move the 3rd bullet point up. And have the top bullet point be the last, because you, within these here, each one of these categories, you should probably try to tell us which is more important in each category. I look at the 3rd bullet point as the most important for a starting point. And as we said, we're gonna have ongoing meetings to review all this, special meetings, because we're never gonna get any of this done at a regular meeting.
No,
So
let's-
let me ask you the next question. So are you up, Don? Are you all, you said?
no, thank you.
All right, so let me ask the next question then. We have all these priorities here. If what I would think we should do is if all of these order of magnitude or opinion of cost is all engineering, should there be another column that says, well, what is the construction cost or the cost up to do this work beyond engineering? Is that true statement? All these order of magnitudes are all engineering?
No, it's not true. So when you get down
So you're
to,
mixing and matching, Matt, then you're mixing apples and oranges.
right, so when you get down to pipelining, there's the very little cost for engineering for, say, if you're doing annual pipelining.
Then you need to have another column. You need to break these 2 columns down, because you're mixing and matching here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can do that. And one will be engineering and one will be construction.
Yep, so you can call both of them order of magnitude, and then parentheses, put one engineering and the other one construction cost, or whatever, whatever the other term we're gonna use.
No, yeah,
Okay, so you're gonna add, we're gonna add a column.
I'm gonna the opinion of cost, I'm gonna split in half. And then half will be engineering, the other half will be construction. You can see where the number falls in those 2.
Well, I asked you at the beginning, is the 40,000 all engineering by Weston and Sampson? You said yes.
Yes,
So in the next column, if I ask you, what's your opinion of cost for construction? What's your answer? You don't know it yet.
for construction of sewer shed flow allocation would be 0. You're not building it. It's an administrative tool. You're not building it.
Right. Yep, I understand that, but I'm just saying, I want to make sure that if there's a column here for construction cost, we need to know what that column is.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, let's do that.
That's good feedback. Thank you.
Hey, Don, before you're leaving,
I have to go pick up my
it's
grandson.
okay. Do you want to try to meet? Does anybody, before you leave, do we want to have a special meeting?
I would, yes, I'd love to.
Why don't we'll have Ernie or Ashley email you with some dates.
Anytime, any day is good for me, so.
And then Steve's asking to have it after.
This month or March we're talking? This
Tomorrow.
month?
Probably, I don't know, probably this month. We're only in the beginning of
month.
March. So I would say
Valentine's Day.
we're in the beginning of February, huh?
Valentine's Day. is when
We'll work on it. We'll work on a date with everybody in the next couple of weeks,
Awesome, thank you.
and then we'll
I'm
let you
sorry I
know.
couldn't-
All right. All right, so let's do that, Matt.
Yeah, and we could, yeah,
And I don't
Okay.
see it, and my only other opinion is to move I up, but why don't we do this? Let's leave these here where they are. You're gonna do these subcategories of the work description. You're gonna prioritize these within the description. Right?
okay, yeah,
You understand that one?
yes.
Okay. I mean, there's not really much of a need to go through anymore here, I don't think.
Everyone
And then
using.
you're
I
gonna
have
do
a
the same. What's that?
Eugene
I
has
have
a
a
question.
question here, Matt. Is there any time restraint on the infrastructure storm hardening grant? Because that one to me is a no-brainer. Should we, is that, especially if there's a time limitation to it, is that just something we get rolling,
I think we
especially
should,
with the 100% coverage?
I think we should apply to yeah, I think there is a time limitation. I don't know what it is. I think we should apply and see what we can get out of it. And then, because I think, I don't know, yeah,
All right, so check on the time limitations. That was one we discussed earlier, so that's fine. I want you to do that. And then the sewer infrastructure needs, you're going to have to break this one down. So the order of magnitude of cost is engineering and construction. If that's the case, we need to have that other column here too.
Yep.
Because we might be looking at, doing some of the green needs and some of the blue needs. Right? We might
Yeah,
have
by the
to-
time we decide on some of the blue needs, I think you should have a new superintendent to have an opinion.
That's okay. Well, let's just do that other column in that one too, and then when we get the new superintendent, we can talk about the plant with Garrett. So we can kind of hold off on this one. Let's talk about the infrastructure needs at our next meeting. Ernie, do you want to say anything about any of these, Ernie?
Not at this time.
All right, so we'll work on a date, on a meeting date. That works for everybody. Anything else for Matt? Hearing none, let's move on. New business, there is none. It's gonna be an easy meeting. Mark this one down, Ash. New business, none. Financial statement. Everybody's got the financial statement. So then we're gonna do two things. We're gonna set up our first budget review meeting for. We'll talk about it in March and we'll have our first one in April. Anything else for anybody? Final adjournment, number 8. So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chuckner,